before we get started, make sure you press the like button for this video and support the channel by subscribing if you like what you see and you want to watch more content like this. Okay, now let's get on with the video. Oh boy, more overlapping. It just never ends, doesn't it? Oh well. So storytelling. If you haven't noticed, I really like it. Well, with the multiple videos discussing the previous stories I've made and what I intend to do with my mediocre skills in the future, this video might seem a bit redundant, but don't you worry too much about that. I started to get into it around 2013 to 2014, where I would play with my Legos and make stories around their adventures and do stuff a kid would normally do with their toys. This, like I said in my character design video, was more or less my writing infancy, which isn't bad. It at least means I get to grow my skills. It wasn't until 2016, near when I started my first channel, that I decided to actually take a crack at telling a story to others, with The Legend of Lukeshardo and the Wormholes. Damn, I will never get over that title. The story starts out when the titular Lukeshardo and his friends get sucked into a random wormhole out of nowhere and get transported to another world full of robots called Tranquan, also turning into robots themselves. How convenient, am I right? They get caught in the middle of battle between two warring factions and get taken under the good one. Don't ask me why they're the good ones. Introductions go on until the leader of the enemy faction busts in, kicks everyone's asses, and kills the leader of the good faction. There is even a rest in peace Silverwing at the end to rub salt on the wound. And that is TLOLATW in a nutshell. You can probably tell this was my first attempt at a story, and that there were a few bits of the premise for Transformers that were copy-pasted into it. So after that rip-roaring success, I started making a part 2 to the story called The Legend of Lukeshardo and the Wormholes, Part 2. I am going to run out of breath trying to pronounce these titles. Long story short, I gave up on the project due to being a bit too ambitious for the scale, despite my lack of skills and prevalent impatience, which I feel is kind of the theme for the next few attempts. Trust me. But that doesn't mean I never released it, because years later, I managed to get some of the rough version and upload it to YouTube. The story for it was obviously meant to carry off the original, focusing on the aftermath of the good guys' leader's death. Not only that, but one of the friend characters was meant to die as well, because my friend really wanted him to. Why? Good question. I don't really know. Things like the leader ending up in Robo Heaven and a big dick badass on a motorcycle were also shown in the Part 2 trailer and unfinished version. The Legend of Lukeshardo and the Wormhole series was promptly cancelled after that. Later on, I changed to Lukeshardo Reset, and came up with a new continuity, which focused more on some sort of rivalry with this other similar looking guy to Lukeshardo. That didn't go anywhere. This was more or less the first step to the vision I now have for the story. I tried to make a trailer for this, but I scrapped it because iMovie is, and always will be, a pain in the ass. Seriously, if you want to start editing videos and crap for free, just get Film Express. It has a lot more features and will give you less of a hassle. I also tried making a written novel of this story, but that didn't go anywhere, because I don't know how to write long books, especially as a preteen who thought Skylanders were cool. After that, I tried to reboot the continuity again by writing a new origin for that story, which included more human elements and science fiction other than fighting sentient robots. The story here was just called Legend of Lukeshardo, a title that wouldn't make people feel like a vacuum in reverse from all the breath they'd be losing trying to pronounce it. Slowly, as time went on, the story became a bit more serious. As I switched the title to Lukeshardo, I brought back the old design for the red robo bastard, and then tried to contextualize how the old and new designs are the same character. I tried to make a trailer for this, but scrapped it due to the same reason as the last attempt. In relation to this, I actually managed to release a trailer for Lukeshardo. The trailer was called Lukeshardo Returns, and it was supposed to have more voice acting. But I couldn't get the files to work because again, iMovie's a pain in the ass. And that's really it. It at least came out this time, so that's something. As a side note, I also tried making a spin-off comic called Lukeshardo, a 2D stylized project that didn't go anywhere. But I did yoink a couple elements from that story for my newer ones. Next, I made a couple series explaining the backstory of the world for the story and the characters in it, called Data Logs and Character Profiles respectively, which is neat, but I stopped it after 5 entries each, which isn't really as neat, but hey, this series was rushed and shite anyways, so nothing of worth was lost. This brings us to the present. What's even happening in the present? Well, I've basically been writing my stories in private, learning from YouTube tutorials in English class, which was a nice surprise, seeing as how the English classes where I was are kind of infamous for making students constantly read and do assignments on Shakespeare. Recently, when posting my newer character sketches onto Instagram, I had a little description below talking about the characters' backstories and premise. I basically have 2 stories in the works, being the previously mentioned Lukeshardo, which is going to be a video game, as talked about in my last video. It's now basically a red robot running around, beating the shit out of other robots for reasons even he probably doesn't even know. And then there is the much teased Lukeshardo. I've held this off for long enough, so here we go. It's about a guy with glowing purple eyes and magical demon powers trying his best to simply survive from a group of hunters who are specifically formed just to kill those of his kind. There, that's its premise for you. It's meant to be an animation or a comic, but even now, I still haven't decided on which one to do yet. Because I like animation and all the fluidness that comes from all the motions. But that's a bit too complicated, especially for someone like me with a lack of animating skills. So I thought, why not do a comic again, since I wouldn't have to draw multiple poses. But it doesn't have as much fluid motion as an animation. Of course you can tell, because they're 2 different mediums. If you give me some advice down below in the comments on what to choose and how to do it, then that'd be much appreciated. So yeah, that's fun. Despite how long this has been going for, I'm obviously still working on these 2 stories, and in the future, I wish to release these under LPS somehow. Oh yeah, there's also that time my mom wanted me to write a children's book, but as you know, I like making things for older audiences, most specifically teens. Overlapping with my character design video, seeing as my character designs are part of a story, I like to make sure that elements of the story are in their design, like the glowing purple eyes, and the scarf, and the orange bandana. Or is it a handkerchief? I could never tell. And that's all for this video. There's not really that much to talk about now, and I've just revealed one of my 2 major projects with more than just a logo and some characters. I'm probably going to start making a director's cut compilation of this and the previous 2 videos, because they both have similar premises to them. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, so I'll see you next time.